What is good, guys? We are going to be doing a couple albums here from Vinnie Vincent Invasion today. And, in our Hell in the Cell series, we put two albums together and we see which one comes out a winner and which one is better. Which one do we like better? And those albums are going to be from Vinnie Vincent, obviously, the debut here from 1986. And then from 1988, we are going to be doing Vinnie Vincent Invasion's All Systems Go. So let us start with debut, obviously. So obviously, as you can see behind me, Vinnie Vincent was in Kiss, and he was in Kiss for technically like two albums worth, Creatures of the Night, and then he was actually the guy for Lick It Up. And good album, but it's not the Vinny that we all come to grow and love, that we see after he leaves Kiss. And as far as like guitar work, yes, there's still great riffs on Lick It Up and stuff like that, but not what you really get here on his debut. Let's jump in here now to 1986, and that is going to be the debut here, and it is on Capitol Records. So this album did actually do decent, from what I can remember people telling me. Obviously, I found this album when I was like 12, 13 years old. My dad said, "Hey, if you like this kind of stuff, check out Vinnie Vincent. I had this album. You will probably like it too." So I went out, got it, and I was fucking blown away. I was like, "Holy fuck, this guy's crazy! Like, this is awesome!" Like, I think Vinnie Vincent is one of those like guitar heroes that made me love guitar heroes. Like love guitar solos, love tone, everything like that.
Wow, you're amazing, dude.
Thanks. I like to play.
I definitely, when I was younger, I was like, "Holy fuck, this is just so cool, like so badass." Like this. Now you gotta think that was what, like 2006. I heard nothing like that. The closest thing that you would hear probably to like what you would hear here would be like mainstream wise would be like Dragon Force, which they're awesome too. They do a lot of finger tapping, like all kinds of crazy shit on the guitar. So that's like the closest thing, and I'm just like, oh my god, why isn't no one talking about this album or this guy? Vinnie Vincent, and obviously it was short lived. And let us talk here because you do have on this album, this is a little bit of a super group, if you will, especially on the second album. I will say on All Systems Go, but definitely on here there too. You have Vinnie Vincent, Dana Strum on bass, and then Bobby Rock on the drums, which he later goes on to do Nitro, Nelson, and shit like that. Then you also have Robert Fleshman on vocals, which I am in the camp of preferring Fleshman's voice in Vinnie Vincent over Mark Slaughter's voice. And I don't know if that's just the albums themselves, how the albums sound. I don't know. But just from what we have here from these two albums, I would prefer the Fleshman sound compared to Mark Slaughter's sound, which is strange because I think Slaughter's a really good band. Like those first like 3, 4 albums are really, really good. And I don't know, I just something about Fleshman with Vinnie Vincent's guitar tone, I think just works a lot better. So you do have this album. It did go to number 64 on the top 200 Billboard charts, which is pretty good. I mean, granted, yes, 1986, somewhat early, if you will, for this kind of shredding for the glam metal scene. I would say, kind of. I mean, when I think of like real shredding, like really good guitar stuff for glam metal, I think of I tend to go towards like the sleaze metal side of things. But definitely, nonetheless, though, definitely this album was kind of ahead of its time a little bit, I would say. And, because even on the back here, it says no synthesizers were used in the making of this album, which after you listen to it, you're like, God damn, maybe is that right? Like when you first read it, you're like, oh, okay, whatever. But then when you listen to the album, you're like, oh shit, okay, I can see why they're saying that. Because let's go through some of the track listings here, because I don't think there's not much wrong with this album at all. So you do have Boys Are Gonna Rock, which is the video single and the lead off track on this album. Really good. It puts you right in the headspace of what this album is going to be, what Vinnie Vincent's all about right now, and he's getting back at Kiss for basically kicking him out and showing his worth and how good he really is. And obviously, in this album, you can tell how good he is. And that's another thing that I always beat to death whenever I bring up Vinnie Vincent or Nitro. This album, Nitro and Vinnie Vincent are kind of like two peas in a pod. Just one came a little bit earlier and just not as crazy. Like Nitro, I would say, is a little bit more crazier than this album, this debut album from Vinnie Vincent. But certainly like big brother, little brother type deal. Same family. But so Boys Are Gonna Rock is great. Awesome stuff. And now Mark Slaughter is in that video. Mark Fleshman is not in that video. And which is crazy because when I was young, I'm like, okay, that looks like Mark Slaughter. And then as time, like a couple months went by, I ended up buying the second album, All Systems Go, and I realized, oh, okay, Mark Slaughter was in this band. And but like, it kind of threw me for a mind fuck there at first. So second track, Shoot You Full of Love, great guitar intro, like that tone, just that like medium tempo riff, which you don't get a whole lot of them from Vinnie Vincent in this album. But Shoot You Full of Love is certainly one of my favorite songs off of this album. Then you have a little bit of a ballad here, No Substitute, which is fine. I mean, Vinnie Vincent isn't known for great ballads. Even on the second album, guys, the ballads aren't that good. Okay, let's relax.
That's right. I said it. I meant it. I'm here to represent it.
No Substitute. If I had to choose out of all the ballads, No Substitute would probably be one that I would skip less, if you will. So track number 4, Animal. This is one that absolutely blew my mind when I first listened to this album.
Hey, now you're speaking my language here.
I'm like, holy fuck, what's this guy doing? Like at the last 30 seconds or so, like Vinnie Vincent is just absolutely going crazy. He went crazy with like kind of like ending the song Animal, but then like there's like 30 extra seconds here that it's just him playing, and it's literally like it sounds like he's literally like right in front of you, which I want to like talk about this production compared to All Systems Go's production. It's so much better and so much rawer. Like you kind of feel like it was like you're watching him live, but it's not live, obviously. It just has that raw feel to it, like what a lot of us would end up really loving about the 80s metal, early 80s metal, and even like the heavier side of things metal, the production sound, and even like the sleaze metal sound, like some of that stuff from the early 90s that we ended up really looking back on and loving. So Animal, great song. One of my favorites off this. When this comes on, everyone needs to look the fuck out because Vinnie Vincent's going to do his thing and you're going to do about it, except enjoy it. But track number 5, Twisted. Okay, this is like the first song that is somewhat weaker, but I still enjoy it. It's still on the iPod. It still gets listened to. It's like, what are we doing here, guys? This is awesome shit. So track number 6, Do You Want to Make Love? A 3-minute song, actually. This is the shortest song on the album, and it's cool. I mean, Vinnie Vincent doesn't really do nothing too crazy here. Now, every song he does kind of go crazy, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't. This is somewhat more of a song here. The chorus is pretty good, kind of catchy. That definitely, I remember the chorus more than I do any of the guitar work, I would say, but that doesn't mean it's a bad song at all. But track number 7, I know a lot of people really like the first time they listen to it that I recommend it, they say Back on the Streets is one of their favorites. And this is one that like the more I heard it, the more I was like, you know what, you guys are right, because I always enjoyed this song, but it's kind of like in comparison a little bit to XYZ's Follow the Night, which is like really cool, slow, like really atmospheric a little bit. Really good. Back on the Streets, great guitar work, great vocals from Robert though too. And that's another thing too with this album, like I said about the production, I feel like I hear Dana Strum on doing his bass work a lot easier and a lot more than I do on All Systems Go. And that's another big plus for me because I love hearing that shit. So track number 8, I Want to Be Your Victim. Awesome. I mean, just good stuff. I mean, on the weaker side of things for this album, but still really good. Same thing with Baby. Oh, baby. I'm going to fight for you. I really kind of like mainstream sound, but hooky though too at the same time. And then you have track number 10, Invasion. This, when I listen to this song, this is one of my least favorites on the album. But when I listen to it now, it kind of has a little bit of like a power metal feel to it. And like the first like 2 minutes or so, it just feels like something that would work well in like a early Queensryche or early Halloween type sound. Just the way Robert sings that song and just how Vinny's riff just sounds. It just reminds me of that. But at the end of this song or at the end of the album, there's just like the siren going for like 3 minutes, but it's actually like Vinny's guitar feedback loop. It's like looping back and forth. Now, I know a lot of people get annoyed with this album. I would agree with you if you said that was annoying because it is, and I had to cut it down. I had to cut it down on iTunes over here. I'm like, okay, I don't need the last 3 minutes of the song when there's just crazy sirens or like guitar looping going back and forth. So, but nonetheless, guys, this is an awesome album. One of my favorite albums from my teenage years and probably still. And that's another thing. Like I said, he had a little bit of momentum going here with this album. And never certified or anything, but he did play a couple shows or at least tour a little bit with Alice Cooper because I bought this poster. I didn't buy it for Alice Cooper, although it does look cool. Alice Cooper looks cool with this. But if you see here on the bottom, it says with special guest Vinnie Vincent Invasion. I bought it basically just for that. So I just have it hanging up here just for the Vinnie Vincent. But nonetheless, Alice Cooper looks cool on this side too. So win-win situation. So, but nonetheless, guys, that is the first album, the debut album from Vinnie Vincent. So let's talk a little bit about what I feel like a lot of people the last couple of years have really talked this album up a lot, and I don't understand why. Because it's not nearly as good. Yes, Mark Slaughter, he's on it, but that doesn't mean it's gonna be good. Like I said, don't get me wrong, I like Mark Slaughter. I like his singing, but just something here I just don't dig. I think some of it is production wise. I don't dig the production. It sounds very muffled. Another big negative to me is Vinnie Vincent is not being Vinny on this album as he was on the first album. Like the songs are a little bit more contained. It just feels like a neutered Vinnie Vincent somewhat. Like they told him, hey, we'll give you a solo, but kind of like what they were doing with him and Kiss, like not using his abilities correctly. I feel like because when I listen to this album, I listened to this album again like a couple weeks ago, and it did not get better over time either. Like it just, even when I first bought it back in my teenage years, around the time I got the first one, I just probably only played this album 5 times throughout my whole life so far, and it just does not get better. Just something about it.
Boy, this party really died.
So you have here Ashes to Ashes, the lead off track, which is a good song. I can listen to that song. That is on the iPod. Dirty Rhythm. Yeah, I don't remember how that goes. Like I said, I listened to it like a couple weeks ago, and I still don't remember anything about it. Love Kills, which is one of the singles on here. I believe that was on Nightmare on Elm Street. It's okay. It's on the iPod, but it's nothing that I'm looking forward to playing or listening to. And sometimes when it does come on, it gets skipped. I just it is what it is. I don't know, whatever. So you got here next, Naughty Naughty, Burn, Let Freedom Rock. I don't remember how these go. They sound very neutered. Nothing. Now I think production does play a big part in that, guys. Don't get me wrong, but fuck, I don't know. There's something here. It's just missing. Something's just missing here. I don't know if it's hard to believe because that if you would say that all the ideas were running out, just a one and done album kind of deal. They couldn't write another song. But then like pretty much half of this band goes to Slaughter in a couple years and write a great album, a great songwriting album, your great lyrics and everything. So I don't know if that is to blame. But so the next track here, That Time of Year, another song that's kind of like Love Kills, which is, I think I might actually like it better than Love Kills. I don't know. You guys could throw some of these songs together and I wouldn't care. I'm not going to argue with you if you love this album or if someone plays this album here, like in front of me, I'd be like, okay, that's cool, whatever. But when you compare it to the debut album, it's no comparison in my view. So I think you got tracks like here, Dirty or Heavy Petting. I do remember how that goes. It's kind of catchy, but it's just kind of cheesy though at the same time. What a lot of people give hair metal shit for, which I don't care at all about that. But it's like, okay, you guys give shit to like Roxy Blue, but then you guys like this album or like Heavy Petting, like okay, whatever. So then you got another ballad, Ecstasy. I actually do kind of like that song. That's on the iPod, but another cheesy song, another cheesy ballad. Mark Slaughter kind of redeems that song, keeps that song together to make it worth listening to. Nothing. I do remember the solo on this album or on this song, and it's just nothing really memorable. Which is crazy that I remember it. I think I remember it because it's not as good. It's like remembering, not worth remembering, basically. So you got Deeper and Deeper, Breakout, The Meltdown. I'm pretty shot. When I first listened to this album, I remember hearing that guy at the end of this album, at the end of that song, and basically the end of the album, and he's like, don't forget to tell your friends about us. And he does like this, like the thing with the steak with the tongue. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Like,
what is going on?
That's like a perfect way to end this shitty album, and it's just weird, I don't know. I don't care for it. This album, now, I know a lot of people do like this album. It seems to be like going up everyone's ranks the last couple of years, it seems to be. And the debut's going down and that's weird because like I seen on Wikipedia here, a lot of people, like a lot of journalists and stuff are saying like this was number 8 on Kerrang's hard rock albums list of 1986. I wouldn't have guessed that the way that the debut gets talked about now. And even back then, because like it didn't get certified or anything, and I just remember people talking shit. Now, granted, like I said, I was born in '92, so I wasn't around in '86 to tell you what people were saying or what the magazines were saying and shit. So just what I'm hearing, on social media since I was a teenager. And so you also have the album at number 100 on their top 100 greatest heavy metal albums of all time, which is crazy to me. I wouldn't have guessed that. I wouldn't have guessed anyone put that in their top 50. It's in my top 50. Spoiler alert. And then one more here. Journalist Chuck from Fargo Rock City. He has this as his second best album behind Appetite for Destruction. That kind of blows my mind a little bit. I wouldn't put it that far up. I mean, do I visit it more than Appetite to Destruction? Yes, I do. But I don't know if I'm putting it at number 2 of the whole genre. I don't know. But it is some great guitar work. I ain't gonna complain about that. But I mean, it's just weird because like you don't hear really anyone saying anything about the debut, especially recently, I would say. But there's a lot of love going out for it on these top lists and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's just kind of strange. But for me, it's no doubt, guys. Between these two, easily it was an easy one for me to do. So out of these two, we are going to be going with the debut, and it's just they had the look, good look. I mean, Robert does look like he's supposed to be in like REO Speedwagon or Journey or something more mainstream rock, but perfect vocals for these album for this album, and I think he did a way better job than Slaughter did on these songs. So shout out to Robert as well. And I think he just didn't want to tour. I think that's why he kind of like left too. Like that was at least some of the reason, which I can understand that. But it's just a shame that we didn't get a second album with him. Would it have been a little bit different? Would it have been more enjoyable? In my opinion. But yeah, guys, let me know in the comments what you guys think of Vinnie Vincent in general.
Talk to me.
And what you think of the debut, and tell me also what you think where I'm wrong. I know a lot of people are gonna say I'm wrong for disliking a lot of All Systems Go, but man, that production just really hinders it. Just the songwriting is just not as good. The guitar playing is just not as good. The guitar tone is not as good. I go down the line. of what is just not as good to my ears. And it's just, this is where it was at 1986 too. Pretty early for this kind of sound. So yes, quite interested to see what you guys say about that. But guys, until next time, thank you for watching the Crash Course Metal Show. Click the subscribe button if you like what we're doing here. We like to bring you more of this underground, forgotten, unknown bands and albums from the past, present, and future. So if you guys enjoy that, click subscribe, click the like button, hang out with us for a little while. But guys, stay out of that collateral damage. Until next time, we'll see you guys later.
Yeah, I wrote that. It's called I Want to Rock Your Body. And then in parentheses it says to the break of dawn.